But having that conversation, man, it really scared me because if they grew up financially challenged, they started making money, they started living their best life based on not being able to live that life when they were younger. They start making money, they start blowing the money and start enjoying life and, buying nice things and things of that nature. And if we don't get control of our spending, then we're going to continue living that way. And then if we continue living that way, then when are we putting money away for ourselves? When are we putting money away for our future? When are we investing? Hey, family. This is Che Willis coming back with another episode of Wealth is a Journey podcast. Guys, this is episode 155. 155 weeks of consistency, 155 weeks of getting it done. We outside. Guys, we've almost been doing this for 3 years now, and I am excited. We've grown. We've done some good things out here in the community. We've done speaking engagements and just got booked for another speaking engagement where I'm getting paid for it to talk about the thing that is near and dear to my heart, which is financial literacy. Anytime I get to speak to an audience about something that is not necessarily talked about in their homes, communities, things of that nature, I'm very, very excited about it, man. And that just shows me that we still have more work to do. And I'm excited and I'm here for it. If you're a first time listener, watcher, or subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. On this podcast, we talk about faith, family, and finances, among other things. If you are a return listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us again. Hopefully, we are adding value to your lives on the way to the M's because we are 1000% on the way to the M's. And you may say, Che Willis, what are the M's? The M's are millions. We getting to the millions. And how are we going to do that? I'm so glad you asked. We're going to do that by reducing our expenses. We are going to take that pile of cash from reducing our expenses. We're going to march that money out into the marketplace and make us some money babies. That's it. It is just that simple. Not easy, but that simple. So guys, I had mentioned just a second ago that had some different speaking engagements, and I had a workshop and a speaking engagement where I was speaking to some young people. Super excited, man, to be able to do that. Talking to young people is not necessarily the easiest thing to do because they look at you, just mad dry, like, yo, who are you? And then you start revealing some things and you start talking about things that you went through as a child or as a young person, and then that then resonates with them, and then they perk up, then they listen. And it's pretty cool just to see that wall kind of come down, and then they start asking questions and things like that. But the one thing that in the workshop and speaking to the young folks, one of the things I love to ask, or what one thing that I love to have them do, is to close their eyes and then ask what their ideal life looks like. The reason I do that is because I need you to lock in on something that you don't necessarily see around you, but something that you can potentially see in your future. And that gives you a goal. It gives you something to work towards. And if we start locking into things that we can work for, and then we start achieving those things that we work for, then that gives us the belief that we can continue knocking down goals. And our belief and our hope gets stronger and stronger and bigger and bigger. So that's exactly why I did it. But in one particular instance, I had a member of the audience, I'll say that they were poor. And I understand what they were saying, but that made me think that if they felt like that, then a lot of other people feel like that, even though that's their current circumstance. If they're saying that out of their mouth, then that's what they see for themselves, if that makes sense. So what that told me was, well, first of all, I corrected the person. I'm like, "Yo, you're not poor. You're in a current financial situation that you can get yourself out of if you work for it. Now the question is, do you want to work for it?" And I'm going to ask you the same thing. Like, if you're in a bad financial situation or you don't like where you are you willing to do something about it? And on this podcast, what we're doing is we're giving you different information that hopefully would resonate with you and give you the hope and belief that you can get out of whatever situation that you're in. I told you many times, I'm not going to talk about it on this podcast, but different financial challenges that I had growing up. And that was the thing that I locked in on that helped me get out of my situation. And I always kept it in the back of my head of where God bought me from and knowing that I never want to go back there again. And that's the thing that drives me to do what I do week in and week out, because I know that there's somebody just like me watching this podcast that can resonate with the things that I'm talking about. And hopefully that hope and belief comes to them and gets them moving and gets you moving to where you want to be financially. So I told them, like, you're in a current financial situation right now, but you can get out of it. And what I wanted to do on this podcast today was just, again, we talked about last week. We talked about one piece is kind of like knowing your numbers and tracking your spending and things of that nature. But I want to simplify it even more and kind of drill down, because when people are hopeless, they're hopeless because they first of all, they don't have a plan. And then at the same time, with not having a plan, they don't believe that they can get out of their current situation. So what I told the person was, listen, these are the things that I did. I gave them a broad view, and I let them know, hey, you can go on my website, you can download free information, free budget tools. I have a community, so you don't necessarily have to walk this journey alone, but there is hope for you. So I'm telling you that as well. So if you're hopeless, seek the help that you need. There's free information out there. There's communities that you can join, that people can walk alongside of you on the journey, so you don't have to walk the journey alone. So that's what I told the lady. But I think it's a good conversation to have on this podcast specifically because, again, we just need to bring hope. So the first thing that I want to talk about is knowing your numbers. And when you say know your numbers, like, what does that mean? And knowing your numbers is just as simple as, what money do you have coming in? What money do you have going out? And once you know those two things and you have them written down, what do we do with the leftover money? And the hope is, and now that you're watching this podcast, what I would tell any of my clients or anybody that I work with, that any leftover money needs to go to reducing your expenses. And reducing your expenses at this point in time, with the economy being what it is, the country being in turmoil, like, we don't know what's going on. So we can't be out here willy nilly just living life. We have to plan, because with AI coming and jobs decreasing, we don't know what's going on. And I'm not saying this to scare you by any means, but we have to be realistic about what life could potentially look like. And we don't want to be blindsided by not being prepared if something ever happened with our current situation from for work. So uh I say reduce your expenses. And then again, we're going to take that pile of cash and then do the sexy thing, which is invest it once we reduce our consumer debts, car payment, credit cards, student loans, anything loan related outside of your mortgage. And that's how we're going to make the money babies, the millions. That's how we're going to get that, by consistently investing. And um I was telling you that I had the talk with the teens. I had a workshop, and the thing about it is that a lot of people believe that you just need to make more money, and I'm telling you that that's a trick of the enemy to believe that you just need to make more money. What I always tell my clients or anybody that I'm talking to or working with, before you get another job, do what I just said. What do you have coming in? What do you have going out? And then once you figure that part out, if your income and if your outgo exceeds your income, then instead of getting another job, how about we start cutting some things out and start eliminating the nice to haves until we get in a position to have the nice to haves or to buy the nice to haves. And another thing I tell my clients is that listen, this your current situation will feel like it's forever, but it's not forever. It's only going to continue until you get past it. I told you guys before I paid off me and my wife, we paid off our house in 7.5 years. At the time that we were doing the thing, it seemed like forever. I mean, 7.5 years is a long time, and in the grand scheme of things, it's really not. Um, but I understand that the feeling of doing something over and over and over again may seem like forever, but being on the other side, it was worth all of the work that we put in. So I'm encouraging you to put the work in to get to the other side of the life that you actually want to live because it is attainable. You can do it, but it will require some work. So the next thing, again, we're simplifying how to get you where you want to be financially. The second thing is identifying leaks. So that kind of goes into what we were talking about with number one is knowing your numbers, identifying leaks. So what does that look like? Identifying leaks to you would be subscriptions, dining out, Uber Eats, DoorDash, um, gym memberships, all those different things that we have a lot of that we're not necessarily paying attention to. So we have to identify the leaks. And a lot of us don't pay attention to what we're spending. We work hard, we deserve it. So we're just going to go and spend. And that's a recipe for disaster because at some point in time, you will want to retire and you're not going to be able to do it. And one of the things that I told the young people is that people go to big box stores and they have somebody asking for their receipt. And I asked them, hey, have you been to, this big box store recently? Yes. How old was the person that was asking for your receipt? Oh, they were old. Okay. So my next question to them was, yo, do you think that they wanted to be there? And some said, yeah, well, they may they may just want to go work just to make money. But if you're past retirement age and you're asking for receipts, 9 times out of 10, you don't want to be there. I would, for me, I will want to be on vacation somewhere or doing something fun, enjoying all the fruits of my labor. But the problem is that people enjoy the fruits of their labor before their fruits fully bloom and they fully mature, if that makes sense. And so, guys, we got to get on this, man. It's the reason I'm so passionate about this because I'm scared because I had a conversation with a family member not too long ago, and they're ready to retire, and they can't retire, and they're in a bad way, man, because they didn't do all the things that we're talking about now. So I know some of the things that we're talking about today has something to do with what we talked about last week. But having that conversation, man, it really scared me because if they grew up financially challenged, they started making money, They started living their best life based on not being able to live that life when they were younger. They start making money, they start blowing the money and start enjoying life and, buying nice things and things of that nature. And if we don't get control of our spending, then we're going to continue living that way. And then if we continue living that way, then when are we putting money away for ourselves? When are we putting money away for our future? When are we investing? And the thing is, we're not doing that. And so we have to get over this financial trauma that we've had as kids and young adults, and really start putting plans in place to be able to put money away for ourselves so then we can enjoy the fruits of our labor later on and now as well. But reducing our expenses is going to be that thing that's going to help us do that. So we have to identify those leaks. Are you going out to eat too much? Are you doing Uber Eats and DoorDash too much? And if we're being honest, a lot of the times, yes, we are. We're ODing because we don't feel like cooking because we worked hard, we stayed up late, we're on Instagram and Facebook and all these different apps, not resting. And then that spills over into us being tired when it comes time to cook a meal and we don't feel like it. Go to sleep. So the last thing is we have to give every dollar a name. Us giving every dollar a name, it gives us control. And a lot of us, if we're being honest, we don't have control over our money because of one reason or another. Our spending is out of control. But I believe if we give every dollar a name and tell our money where to go by creating a budget, then we're going to gain self-control. We get control over ourselves, and then we can tell our money where to go. And it goes back to what I said in the very beginning. If we have a goal, and I don't care how small or how large the goal is, I believe that you have to have a big goal. And then I also believe that you have to have a small goal. And your small goal may be paying off a small credit card of $200 or whatever your smallest debt is, paying that thing off, and then that'll give you the belief to knock the next one down, the next one down, so forth and so on. But also having a larger goal, because you knocking down the smaller goals is going to give you the belief that you can knock down the larger goal. So that's why we're doing the close your eyes and think about, what your ideal life looks like. And then let's start taking those steps to live that actual life. And these steps that I'm giving you today are things that are going to help you to live that life. But it is going to require work. Anything that you want in life is going to require work. It's not just going to be handed to us. It's not going to fall from the sky. Like we got to get to it, man. So giving every dollar a name by setting up that budget, and budgeting gives you freedom, even though we may feel like it's restricting us. It's not. Budgeting is giving you freedom. Why am I saying that? Because if we're doing the budget the right way by knocking down our expenses, our consumer debts, then that's going to give us freedom to have more money. The more money we have means it's less money that we're paying to the bank. How do you think these banks have these big buildings downtown and things of that nature? Is because people are paying millions upon millions and billions of dollars in interest to them for borrowing money. But if we're reducing our expenses, then we get to keep all the money that we make. And that's the point where we can start investing the money. That's the cool to have, the nice to haves. And that's how we get there. That's how we get to the M's. We get to the millions by keeping our money and putting our money to work. Like, it's really just that simple. If you need help with a budget, I have free information on my website, free tools for you and your children that you can go on there, download the stuff for free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you need somebody to walk alongside of you, we do have a community, a wealth builders community, where we meet once a month to talk about all things finance. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to join the community, you have the free information right there. Um, the last thing I want to go over is I think is super important for people who have had life events, and I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but some people have life events, and those life events may alter your income, basically, right? But the problem is that when we have children, or if we're single and we have life events, we want our lives to be as normal as possible, meaning we want our lives to be the way that they were before the financial thing happened to us. And so we spend money like the thing never happened. When the financial altering situation may have you bringing in, say, $500 or 1,000 or $2,000 less than you were bringing in before the thing happened. But we spend money like the thing never happened. And that is a financial recipe for disaster. Like, we've really got to grow up and understand that our spending habits are killing us. And not just you, your kids, or anybody who's watching you live life. And so, like, if you don't think people are watching what you're doing, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Um, and a lot of us are in financial issues because of how we watched our parents and whatever adult that we were living with live their life. So again, if you don't think people are watching you, think about how you watched your parents and why you do the things that you do financially right now. But I'm here to tell you that you can change. Like, you can change your situation. You don't have to be poor. You don't have to be broke. You don't have to be, but it will take a mindset shift. And I think if you start with those three things that I just talked about, and if you did have a life altering event, if you had a life altering event, I'm super sensitive to that, but we got to get on the ball with where we want to be and how we're going to change our family tree, how we're going to change our family's financial trajectory. And starting with those three things that I just talked about is going to help you on that journey. Like, we've really got to start now, man, because like it's not getting any easier out here in the economy. It's not getting any easier. Like, the longer you do what you're doing now, the harder it's going to be to stop doing it when you actually have to stop doing it because you lost your job, or AI took your job, or they're downsizing, or anything of that nature. Like, these things are happening to people every day, but we can't live like it'll never happen to us. So that's the episode, man. Doing those workshops and talking to the young people. We really got to go. We got to get going, man. And it's really it's urgent, and we can't keep living like things are not going on around us that they are. So I wanted to share that, man. And hopefully you guys understand my heart, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but just talking to different people on a day in day out basis and talking to them about their finances and how they are not where they want to be, but not doing anything about it is not helping the situation. So let's get going. Thank you guys for tuning in. Wealth is a journey. We will see you next week. Peace.